there are so many things around us that are coming at us full force. But we need to pay attention to why we are feeling or thinking that way about ourselves. Who are the they that have set this standard of what beauty is?
Carried a lot of anger towards this guy, but more so towards myself. And by the time I went into high school, I had come to believe everything he had said about me, that there was something wrong with me.
If they're insecure about something with themselves, then they'll gossip about someone else. I think it's a huge problem. Like, I experience it every day. I think we experience it without even realizing it. And I think it's the biggest problem among teenage girls, definitely.
It just kind of continued, and I would have episodes of sobbing and crying, being 8 years old and hating myself so much. And I didn't know why, and I was in such intense pain, but it wasn't a physical pain you could identify.
Intimacy. Into, me, see.
I'm Heather Boersma, the host of Beautiful Unique Girl, a TV show created to help teen girls discover their beauty, walk in freedom, and live with purpose. Beautiful Unique Girl began as a touring ministry in 2005, reaching thousands of girls across Canada and the US through our live events. I personally got to be a speaker on some of those tours, and I can't tell you how excited I am to now expand to a TV show and reach more girls than ever before with our message of identity and value. Part of the mission of Beautiful Unique Girl is to reach teen girls, but we also know that the topics and truths we discuss in this show will affect all women. We discuss things like identity, bullying, depression, and healthy sexuality. We use storytelling, interviews, music, and other creative arts to start important conversations with teen girls and the adults who work with them. For so long, we haven't had a voice in these important topics, and we think it's really important to bring this biblical perspective to all of these issues. Many of our interviews are done with women in their 20s and 30s. The reason we've done this is to bring kind of a big sister perspective and encourage teen girls that though they might be walking through something really difficult right now, they too will come out on the other side of their struggles. You see, the power of a testimony isn't just that it inspires and encourages the listener, but it also releases a grace and strength over them to walk in the same breakthrough that the person sharing has experienced. The reason why is because we're all daughters to the same heavenly dad. And when we find out that our dad is doing this amazing work in our sister's life, then we're encouraged that he can do the same thing in us. So that's why we've included so many stories and interviews in this season. In today's premiere episode, you will get some of the highlights from our upcoming season. With snippets from some of our interviews, teaching segments, and other creative components, you will get a good taste of what's to come. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. There's this great quote by Sarah Young in Jesus Calling, and it says this: "I know you intimately, far better than you know yourself. With me you are complete. In closeness to me you're transformed more and more into the one I designed you to be." Knowing Jesus makes you more fully yourself, not less. So when we press into him and we get to know him better, we actually become more of the person that he created us to be. If you want to really understand what true beauty is, what God's image inside of you is, it's Jesus. It's his light shining through you into the world. So relax, take the pressure off yourself, and just let him shine through you.
So a big portion of my life has been struggling with self-esteem issues and just self-worth and not being able to find my purpose, I guess, and find my worth in life. So it kind of started in middle school. I remember going into middle school and previously not having any kind of care about what I looked like. I don't even think I brushed my hair in elementary school. But once I hit middle school, I started noticing that my friends were getting more attention than I was. Like, boys would tell them they were pretty, or even teachers would say, "Oh my goodness, you're so pretty," to my friends, even if I was standing in the room and not say anything to me. And so it really started to weigh heavy on my heart, and really started to pollute my mind. And so I felt like I needed to change myself, change my appearance, change the way that I act or the way that I spoke to just fit in or have that attention on me and I guess find that self-worth. It was tough and it was really hard, and even though I have this amazing family and amazing support system of friends, nothing that they could say changed how I felt, and none of it got right to my heart and changed what's inside and my perception of myself. So yeah, I was just walking around with this tainted version of who I am and what I thought I looked like.
When I was at one of my lows, my grandma actually challenged me to go and look in the mirror every single day and say, "I am beautiful," while looking myself in the eye. And I thought this was so stupid. I was just like, this is the most ridiculous thing. I hated looking at myself in the mirror. If I was in the mall, and there was mirrors in the store, I would look forward, and I refused to look at myself because I just could not stand looking at myself. But because I loved my grandma and I had promised her, I started doing that. And I felt so stupid the first few times I did it, because it feels awkward looking at yourself in the mirror and saying that. But after a few days, or maybe a few weeks even, I realized that instead of saying, "I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful," it started being like, "I'm beautiful, I am beautiful, I am beautiful." And I've believed it.
Beauty is really about confidence and the way a person walks and holds themselves and thinks about themselves and doesn't care what other people think about them.
Are you truly yourself? Do you live within yourself, or do you put on something else? And the more you live being true to yourself, the more beautiful you are.
To me, beauty is your personality. It's not what you see from the outside, it's what you're seeing from the inside.
Self-confidence and being comfortable in your own skin. Everyone is different shapes and sizes and colors, and that's what makes us awesome. And I think that just being comfortable with who you are is definitely beautiful in my eyes.
Do you know that when God looks at you, He sees you how a parent sees their child. When a baby's first born, I can tell you, all they do is poop and cry and barely sleep at all. But a mother loves her child not because of anything that child does to earn the love, but just because they are. And that's how God sees you.
I'm the same person today that I was the moment I was born. And the moment I was born, I had this limitless potential to become anything and everything. And those people who brought me into this world, my mom namely, looked at me, with this hope and this faith that I was going to be amazing. And I was amazing in that moment without having done anything, just because, right? It's because I was breathing. When we look at babies, and that's how we feel, and that's how we think. And I think it's important for us to recognize that that value never diminishes as a result of what we do, right? Especially in the eyes of God.
It's always easier, isn't it, to start mid-sentence, or hop on a train mid-ride, or fall in love mid-story. It's easier, isn't it, to love without the cost, to go to sleep and not go looking for the lost, to become so intoxicated with nothingness that you are too indifferent to need a savior. It's easier to be filled with disgust than to be vulnerable and love a little. Easier to forget the pain, go get drunk a little with some guy, than sit in that church pew and cry. It's easier at first, isn't it, to stand with the crowd and scream, "Equal rights, people, love is love," shouting with the world, "You darn Christians, you have no right to judge." It's easier, I think, to be in the gray than stand in the harsh light of black and white. To ride that high, get in that high school fight, hit the pavement, and 2 hours later, die. It's easier. The world is screaming it with all that they are, but my Jesus didn't die on a cross so that I could live in this kind of messed up getting by. My Jesus died for me so that I could thrive, so that I could be alive, not get that joint and go from low to high, low to high, low to high. No, let me tell you, it wasn't a walk in the park. My Jesus saw me in my brokenness, my selfishness, and my altogether ruthless messiness of my humanness and loved me.
I was bullied. From grade 3 to 6, I can remember spending every recess sitting up against an old garbage can in the playground, watching everybody else. The really sad part about my story wasn't so much that I was being left out, but it's that I actually believed I deserved it.
I struggled a lot just as a teen with bullying, with depression.
My friend had went and posted it online to Facebook.
He decided that I would be the brunt of all his jokes.
I hated it, I hated myself.
I looked a little closer, saw that I was circled, and kind of looked down and I was like, oh, well, there's a whole bunch of people that like this, but why would they like it if this is something that's making fun of me and bullying me?
And so then they go out and they're like, well, if I put this person down, then that'll make myself look better because everyone will see that person's flaws and not be focusing on mine.
It's falling down. Your feet can't find that solid ground. You're searching for that saving breath, 'cause your heart feels like there's one beat left. Well, I can give you love like you never felt, and I can strength when you got none left. Just hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
I
met this guy. He was in my class. And we got into a bit of a fight or something like that. I don't even remember what it was about, who was standing where in line. But from that day on, he decided that I would be the brunt of all his jokes. I couldn't make it stop, and I couldn't go anywhere. So I thought, well, maybe I started thinking about suicide because that was a way I could escape. Because I couldn't hurt him. It was pretty obvious that nothing I said hurt him. And I couldn't make him go away. So then I could go away. But I knew, okay, God has a plan for me, and I know somewhere deep inside that God values me and loves me, and these thoughts I'm having aren't true. So if I can't get rid of myself, then maybe God can just take me. So a lot of junior high, that's what I prayed, that God would just take me away.
People would just point at me and talk and stare and call me names. And I didn't really understand why, because I didn't do anything to them. And I knew I wasn't a bad person, so I just didn't understand why they were so mean to me. And there was really nothing I did about it either, except for isolating myself. I really truly believed that I was ugly for the longest time.
And it was a tough time for me, so my friends and I, we just wanted to go outside, have some fun. They're like, hey, let's go take pictures. We'll go and make Chelsea feel a little bit better. So went out in the dead of winter, and we ended up taking a jumping picture, which was kind of like High School Musical, and we were all lined up and we had a lot of fun doing it. And my friend had went and posted it online to Facebook. I was tagged a couple days later, and I was like, oh, well, it's just the same picture as what my friend had put up. And I looked a little closer, saw that I was circled, and kind of looked down, and I was like, oh, well, there's a whole bunch of people that like this, but why would they like it if this is something that's making fun of me and bullying me? I kind of looked a little bit down at the comments, and I'm like, okay, well, there's 10 comments on here, like, I wonder what they've said. And as I read further and further, I didn't realize that there was 10 comments, there was 400 comments to it. And as I read through almost every single comment, I read to myself, oh, she should kill herself. Finally, I just kind of spiraled into a depression almost, and I didn't want to go to school for the first couple weeks. I didn't want to show up and make myself kind of look prettier than I usually did, and I just didn't want to do anything anymore. I didn't want to go to my classes.
I know you can hardly stand. You can't keep grip of what's in your hand. You're tired and empty, worn out and dry. This life makes you feel like, why even try? Well, I can give you love like you've never felt, and I can be your strength when you got nothing left. Just hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Come into my arms, come into my arms, come into my arms, and just hold on. Well, I can give you love like you never felt, and I can be your strength when you got none left. Just hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
A lot of times the bullies are treated like villains, but I think what needs to be done is get to the root of the problem and figure out what is causing that problematic behavior.
Healthy and happy people don't want to hurt other people.
Most of the people that I bullied, I went to school with from kindergarten to grade 12. And when I had a big change of wanting to be the everyday Christian, I knew that God had forgiven me. I knew that I needed to make things right with God, but I knew that part of my guilt wouldn't really be gone until I had also told them that I was sorry.
We gotta be weightless. We gotta be hateless. We gotta be.
There was one girl, the one who I was the worst to, who I didn't see anymore in high school. And I actually remember just feeling strongly that I had to phone her. I had to find a way to get in touch with her. And I remember looking her up in the phone book and finding her name and her address, and I knew it was the right number, and I got so nervous. I'm even getting nervous just remembering it. And I phoned her, and she answered the phone, and I told her how inappropriate it was and how wrong it was for me to have said the things I did and treat her the way I did, and that because I was a Christian, I needed God to forgive me, and I wanted her to know that I was sorry too. And she was polite, and she said, well, if it makes you feel better, okay. But she opened up to me about how hard her years had been, even since we weren't at school together anymore. And I knew it was a painful thing that she carried with her as she grew older. And now, it was almost like she was doing me a favor to kind of let me off the hook, but I knew that it was still a painful place for her. So my conversation with her really showed me that even though I had made things right, I couldn't undo the damage I had done.
So today's lesson, we're going to be doing some stage combat, and we're dealing specifically with hair pulling, okay?
Going to school can sometimes feel a lot like going to drama class.
You're going to have someone's hand on your head.
Drama with friends, drama with teachers, drama with schoolwork. It feels like school is just a setting for a play. At the end of the day, though, we all know that drama is just pretend.
Time is anyone's hair actually being pulled. And at no
But don't think of bullying as just another kind of drama in your life. Bullying is real, not pretend.
I kind of told Flo my story, and Flo had ended up saying, hey, like, this is why I wrote the song, to help girls like you, to help everyone like you, to kind of move on through life and realize that you are loved.
Have you ever found yourself speaking negatively about somebody else? Today's episode is all about gossip and how we can use our words to either speak life or death.
Let me tell you a story about gossip that happened to me, and ever since then, sometimes you just need an event like this to happen to you before you realize how bad gossip can be. This did occur I was about 19 years old or so, and my boyfriend at the time was going to be in a wedding party. So at the end of the night, my boyfriend and I would get into a car and swap stories. Oh, so stupid, why do these people have to go to the bar, like to have fun, and so lame. Oh, these girls, all they do is get drunk, and they like love the attention of these guys. You know, I hope, I was terrible. I said, I hope that one girl, you know, deals with her dark mustache before the wedding, because that's in a few days. No, it was awful. And I remember saying, you know, after this wedding thing, let's just stop hanging out with these people maybe, or maybe we just have to really tell them how we feel, like, I don't know. And at that time, the phone wasn't like a flip phone. It was on, and it was on top of the dashboard. And it had called back the number of the house where all of the wedding party and all of the guys and girls were now at this point. Someone had answered it on speakerphone, and for 25 minutes listened to us gossip about every single one of them almost.
Gossip is definitely a problem. I find it getting worse because now you have a screen to separate yourself between you and your victim.
Imagine if all the things that we said about people, just imagine they're sitting right there, or perhaps listening on the other end of a cell phone.
I've been the one to gossip about other people, but it all changes when you're on the other end of it, doesn't it? In grade 8, 4 of my best friends got together behind my back and wrote a list of all the things they didn't like about me. They called me up after school one day and read this list to me on the phone. It broke my heart. I ran upstairs into my room and slammed the door and slid down to the floor and cried.
Some people need to actually make others smaller to make themselves bigger. I think that's truly why people gossip. I've definitely been the person like who has been gossiped about, and when I heard it, at first I was like, I can't believe someone would say that about me. And then after I kind of stopped, I said, well, there are reasons why they have to say that about me. It's not me, but there are reasons why they feel they have to say it. They have to diminish me to make me make themselves feel better.
I think people gossip for a lot of different reasons. I think a huge reason is just something to talk about. People love hearing about other people's lives, and if people are miserable with their own lives, they especially love hearing about other people's lives or talking about other people's lives. So I think if they're insecure about something with themselves, then they'll gossip about someone else. I think it's a huge problem. Like, I experience it every day. I think we experience it without even realizing it. And I think it's the biggest problem among teenage girls, definitely, because we all kind of do it, but we don't really realize we're doing it. And even if we're not trying to be mean, it is being mean because we're talking behind people's backs.
So that was an awesome party last night. I know, totes fast. I can't believe how many people showed up.
There were over 41 people there. Did you see Becca there?
I texted her, but she didn't answer me. Hey guys. Hey Becca, where were you last night? You weren't at the party?
Yeah, you weren't there.
Everyone was looking for you.
Yeah, I didn't make it there.
Why?
Well, I was at ballet rehearsal all morning and ring at practice all afternoon, and I was just so tired, so when I got home I crashed on the couch and I woke up at 8, so I just went to bed.
Oh.
Hey man, awesome party last night. It was so swag.
Oh, thanks bro.
Was Becca there?
Oh no, something about ballet already then. Crashed on the couch, then woke up at 8, went to bed.
Wait, what did you say about Becca?
Ballet Renee, crashed at 8, woke up and then just went to bed.
Ah, I see. Did you hear Becca got a belly ring, crashed at 8 and went to bed?
That's crazy, no way.
Hey, do you know that Becca checked? She got a belly button ring.
Really?
I heard she crushed a grape and won a bet.
Did you guys hear about Becca? She won a grape in a bet and crushed her for a belly button ring.
And why would she do that?
She's just crazy, I guess.
Who are you talking about?
Becca.
Isn't that girl who crashed into an 8 because she needed a rest?
Who needed a rest?
Becca. I heard she had a gambling problem. I heard she crushes couches. Hey guys, did you hear Becca got arrested last night?
Yeah, apparently she woke up at 8, drove it to the casino, and then ran over it with her tires.
I heard she drove over it 8 times.
I heard she can make her belly button sing.
I just burned my tongue.
Spotted! Okay, y'all, so here's the latest. Last night, Becca was driving to a singing belly button audition when she crushed an ape that had escaped from a casino with her tires. It woke up, so she burnt its tongue and took it to the vet. And now she's getting arrested for being like crazy. Our thoughts and prayers go to ape in this most difficult time. Hashtag pray for apes.
With every word that we say, we're either speaking life or we're speaking death. So when you choose to say something negative about another person, and you think that it's going to make you look better, it actually might be doing the opposite. Instead of steering the course of their life, it's steering the course of your life. In James 3, verse 3, it says, "Or take ships as an example. Though they are large and driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder," kind of like this one, "wherever the pilot wants it to go. Likewise, the tongue, though a small part of the body, steers the whole course of your life." So next time you're thinking about talking about someone behind their back, remember the rudder. Remember that every word you say has a huge impact on the direction your life is taking. And if you want acceptance and popularity and you think it's going to steer you that way, remember it's actually going to take you the opposite way. You're straight into the storm. So think about it before you speak.
The kind of friend that I strive to be now is somebody who sees the best in that person. God has given me the gift to see the best in people and what's inside of them and to blow it up so that they see it for themselves. Turning a mirror to someone's face and saying, do you see what God sees?
Have you ever heard the line, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? Well, why not take it a step further? If you don't have anything nice to say, look for something. Look for the good in people and then speak it out to them. Know that when you give with your words and lift someone else up, it doesn't tear you down, it lifts you up too.
He came into my sticky grime and he brought the blinding sunshine. And it felt so good to finally see the sun in all of its glory and then realize my utter need for him, shouting, Jesus, just hold me. And that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. He got on that cross and paid for every single dirty thing that I ever did. Great grace abounds into my bloody soul. Unconditional love and a soft hand to hold. That old man, that easy life, the one filled with torturous, agonizing strife, was lifted from my shoulders the day my Savior died. To realize that on that day it was not he who needed saving, but I. And I let those easy things slip away as I gaze into my lover's eyes. What abounding love. What overcoming grace is this, that you gave yourself and made a way for me to know you. Wow. So I let that easy life go and pick up my cross to follow the lover of all loves I know who loved me first. He has forever quenched my thirst. This spring, this well, I come to the feet of Jesus and simply rest. And I don't even have to put him to the test because he's already come through, even before I asked him to. I just sit at his feet and drink the living water of the Most High God. I leave my easy life, which was actually a fraud, and fall into the arms of the one who knows me well.
Today's episode is for you if you have a friend who's struggling with depression. Or maybe you're the one struggling and you feel hopeless and alone and like you're surrounded by darkness. But we want you to know that there is hope and there are things that you can do to get help. We know that sometimes depression can feel like you're walking into a dark room.
If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you.
I pretty well continued to despise myself for feeling that way and for needing medication and for having something wrong with me. I wanted control. I wanted to punish myself for feeling that way because I had no reason to, and I just felt guilt constantly. I started making myself throw up after I ate, so then I developed a bit of an eating disorder and an unhealthy relationship with food, just trying to gain control over that misery and that wolf. Basically, I describe it as a wolf who's constantly chasing you and trying to take you over and take you down. I went to a Christian school, so, there wasn't necessarily accepted either that somebody would suffer from mental illness at such a young age. Pray to God, God will take that sadness away, God will take, that away and deliver you, and that didn't always work, right? Because it was an illness that was hovering over. It wasn't just a feeling of being sad.
Thinking about the theme of depression or anxiety, I wanted to make it a journey as the painting kind of moves from one thing. So one thing to the next. So it starts with the path and the path in front of you, and then the rainbow comes in from the top, and it's for me, it's like the promise that God has spoken over us, and He's given us this path and this future, and He has plans for us, and He's inviting us on that. But as you grow up and as different things come into your life, it's where the trees start kind of in the distance, and they're lighter, and then they come closer and closer, and then they start to be like right up in your face and blocking the path. And sometimes you can't see where the beauty was, where the promise was that you started with.
The song that I wrote is called Hero because in that time I was just looking for some sort of hope, like some sort of thing to hang on to. I called it Hero because I was looking for a hero in the beginning of the song, just thinking like I'm going around in these circles. I'm like, it's getting better and then it's getting worse again. It's getting better and it's getting worse again. And like, when is it gonna end? Like, is it ever gonna end? Am I gonna deal with this for my whole life? It talks about, like, you know, how there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's Jesus, and that's the only way that you can get out of things like these, and how I don't know what's coming before me and I don't know what's coming ahead, but I do know that Jesus is there and that He'll lead the way for me and He'll guide the way.
When you're struggling with depression, it's easy to feel a lot of shame. Like you can't talk to people about the dark feelings that you're having. And if you really started to tell them how you felt, they might not understand. But God is open to hearing those feelings, even if they're kind of ugly. In the book of Psalms, David pours his heart out to God, and he tells Him everything that he's feeling, his hopelessness, his fears, his frustrations, even his anger. And God hears him and listens and loves him anyways.
And so she put it to me this way: depression is very similar to something like diabetes. It's an illness. It is not you being crazy. It is actually a chemical imbalance in your brain that's causing chaos in your body.
So as you journey, then the light, the beauty starts to come through, and when you step back, you can see the colors, and that the promise was there all along. The beauty was there all along, and that it's all a part of the bigger plan.
One day at a time was, a lot of the days it was one day at a time, and having to just remember, just today I got to get up, I got to shower, I got to read my Bible, because if I don't renew that truth, the lies are just going to take over again.
The temperature breaks, it's all time low. You say you're too cold to walk down the road, and little did you know my room's aglow, even though it won't heat up the empty loss of my soul.
It's a song I wrote 2 winters ago when I was going through, I would say, depression. And I guess it was a time in my life where I really didn't feel anything at all except a lot of anxiety and fear and worry. And in that time, I didn't really feel God present. Even though I want to believe that, or I want to feel God, I didn't feel that, God was helping me or healing me.
As with the Spirit then chose to speak, for 6 months I waited for some relief, and well, my body ached.
I wrote the song as kind of a response to that feeling of despair, that even in those times we don't feel God, that there's still a spirit in us that has light and that's carrying us through, and that our ability to feel deep sadness is also from that place our ability to love can grow. And so I guess it was my way of seeing that my sadness is a way of loving other people, because it allowed me to empathize with others.
My God, we're so proud of you.
The myth about sex is that it's just a physical act, like brushing your teeth or going for a run. But the truth is that God designed it to be a direct reflection of our relationship with Christ, intimate, trusting, loving, and eternal. The world says, just do what feels right, go with the flow. And often the church says, don't do it at all, wait, stop. But why? Why should we wait until marriage? Today's episode is going to talk about all of these issues and equip you to make some wise decisions in this area of your life.
Finally felt like I belonged, that I mattered to somebody, that I was their entire world, and that was good and healthy. And when he cheated on me and I realized what had happened, everything inside of me screamed, okay, this is wrong, you need to let this go now. I think, God did convict me in that moment to end the relationship, that he would have better things for me if I just let it go. But I was afraid to let it go. I was afraid to give that control back to God. And so he came crying, and I believed that he was sorry, and I forgave him, and I continued to date him. But knowing that he had cheated on me, and he had gone as far as he could go physically with this other girl, he had sex with her, and he told me this. From that moment on, I felt like if I didn't give him all of that, he would do it again.
The world says that sex is just a physical act between two people, but really it's so much more than that. It's a representation of the level of intimacy in our relationship in all areas: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And all of those different areas should be growing together at the same rate in order for the relationship to remain a safe place. Now, when we start a relationship, we're going to keep the level of physical closeness in proportion to emotional closeness. So if you're not really ready to bare your emotional soul before somebody, are you really ready to bare your naked body?
It was just one night where we were hanging out, and we didn't set up the boundaries that we had normally set up early in our relationship, and one thing led to another, and I just fully had sex with him. I gave everything I had to him. I remember the feeling after giving that part of myself to somebody who, even in the depths of my heart, I didn't believe truly deserved it. That emptiness, that brokenness. I remember sitting in my shower at home, and the water just ran down over me. And I just sat there in a ball with my arms around my knees, and I cried, God, how could I be so dumb? How could I be so stupid to give that part of myself to somebody who I know doesn't deserve it? Like, I committed to myself, I committed to you that I would wait until I was married. And there was just such a hurt in there.
Come broken and scarred, broken and scarred, broken and scarred, he will love you.
I remember feeling that God maybe would forgive that, but I could never forgive myself for it. So there was this struggle, this battle that went on mentally after this night, where I believed in my head that God was good and he would forgive my mistakes and my sin, but I couldn't forgive myself. And so instead of letting God come in and transform that part of me, instead of ending the relationship, which I knew I needed to do, I was 15 years old at the time, a fear was still there, that if I end this, I have nothing.
To be whole, to be healed, to know how to feel what I feel. Intimacy. Into me, see. Trauma. Complex and compounded from the time I was 2 until now. How do I let myself be seen and show the broken parts of my heart and the psyche, shattered like glass by a past I had no control over? Once a whore that got bought, a lady of the night that did things no lady might, but before then, a blow-up doll that breathed and seethed hurt and fear when any man came near my childlike form. It became the norm to find my power in the pleasure of another until I became a mother, abused by my lover. Intimacy. Into me, see.
In that moment, I really truly believed that I was the untouchable, that God had grace for everyone, but no grace for me.
Come broken and scarred, broken and scarred, broken and scarred, He will love you.
If you have crossed that line and you have, done things that you maybe regret, it's never too late to start doing, treating yourself valuable. And a lot of times I think women do cave because they're worried that the guy will be unimpressed or, won't pay her any attention anymore. And she gives parts of herself away that she wouldn't have normally, just in desperation to obtain a man's affection and keep it. But if a guy is not giving you affection because you're not doing certain things that he wants you to, then you don't want him anyway. You have so much more value and self-worth than what culture and media tells you. There's so much more there. And yeah, like I said, it's never too late to start fresh and
No. Every day's a new day, and so you start fresh every day.
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful thing about grace, that if you have gone there and you have slipped or whatever, like I said before, everyone's journey is different, but you get a fresh start.
Yeah, and I would say shame's a huge one too. You can't hang on to regret and shame, and you have to receive, just, you have to be good to yourself. You have to be nice to yourself and not beat yourself up. And not live in shame.
Love is patient, love is kind, and love won't leave you behind. Love is patient, love is kind, and love won't leave you behind.
I'm in love. I'm in love with you, God. And you have taken the things that so easily entangle me and destroyed them with the ultimate substitutionary sacrifice. God, you paid the highest price for me, a sinner unclean. So now I stand made whole, righteous by his blood, receiving Holy Spirit like a glorious flood. I am seated at his right hand. I am singing. I am shouting this truth that easy life could never stand. That Jesus paid it all, and all to him I owe. My sin had left a crimson stain, but he washed it white as snow. So I'll praise the one who took my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Can't you hear him? He's calling. He's shouting to you, I loved you first. I loved you first. I loved you first. Even when you were covered in dirt, I loved you first. Even when you bleed and it hurts, I loved you first. Rest in my easy love. Look above this world to my love. Rest and fall into my easy love because it's so easy, love. I loved you first, love. Take it easy, love. It's so easy to fall in love.
God thinks that I'm beautiful because, probably just because, but because he thinks that I'm enough. And, you know, going through life feeling that I wasn't enough for so long, that's a good feeling.
I still feel God uprooting lies that are still hiding in dark places, and know that he's bringing me to wholeness and to healing, not to just pretend that I'm okay and then have major meltdowns every few months over a small thing, but to actually be okay and to actually believe the truth that God speaks over me.
So I was in tears and I fell to my knees and I was like, please just take me as I am, and kind of help me fix my heart and go on with life. And right there I could feel the emotion and I could feel all my pain just kind of flutter away, and you know, I felt relief afterwards.
What's important is that how God sees you and not how people see you. If God made you, I'm sure he didn't make a mistake, right?
The kind of friend that I strive to be now is somebody who sees the best in that person. God has given me the gift to see the best in people and what's inside of them, and to blow it up so that they see it for themselves. Turning a mirror to someone's face and saying, do you see what God sees?
He loves me, and he's told me over and over in his word that he loves me, and it doesn't matter how I feel about myself, because he's the one that knows everything. He's right. He's always right. He's the same every day, yesterday, today, forever, and I can count on that truth.
Intimacy. Into me, see. See the broken parts of my heart and love me still. See the psyche shattered like glass by a past I had no control over, and understand me anyways. See who I am beneath the hurt and the fear, and draw me near.
Isn't it amazing that we serve a God who sees us, really sees us, behind everything we might try and portray on the outside? And the thing is he looks at us not with eyes of judgment or condemnation, but with the eyes of a loving Father. One of the important segments included in each episode is when we stop and consider how our perspective would change if we would remember that we're daughters of God. What would it look like for us as girls to really grasp what it means to be a daughter of God? We're daughters of a king, which means we actually hold a royal position. What does it look like to have a royal position given to you by God? You see, a princess doesn't have value because of what she does, but rather who she is. And a princess doesn't rush around trying to make things happen and get people to recognize her, but she waits and rests until her father calls her forward for a specific time and purpose. Esther is an amazing biblical example of a girl who understood her royal position and used her voice to change her world. She was only 14 years old when she became the queen, and for the first 5 years of her life, we hear nothing of what she was doing. She could have been sitting around having manicures and pedicures all day. But when the moment came for her to step forward and use her voice to save her family, she did it. If she wouldn't have understood her value or how God had positioned her for that moment, she could have missed it, and her family and people could have been destroyed. She could have missed that moment if she was striving and trying, but she was resting and waiting and knew who she was and was ready to act when the time came. This story encourages me that we as girls and women don't need to spend so much time trying to get noticed, because the truth is we already are. We are accepted because we're daughters of God and we hold a royal position. So all we need to do is rest and wait to obey in the moment that God calls us forward. Through stories like Esther and many others, we hope Beautifully Unique Girl encourages girls that they don't have to work for love, but they can work from love.
Our culture wants to scream so many different things at us, right? We believe that it's external, it's how we look, it's on the outside that matters, or it's the things we're doing, it's our works. But
it has nothing to do with being pretty.
Beauty is more than skin deep.
Beauty is character.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control.
That image of God that's imprinted in our heart. That's Him, a reflection of Him that comes outward.
The light that is inside of you.
Beauty is Christ in me. God is shaping my character, and that's a beauty that won't fade.
What exudes from you because you are cherished and because you're a daughter of the King.
When I think of beauty, I think of God's grace. There is way more beauty to unveil and take in.
Jesus is beautiful, and He was the perfect friend. He was the perfect son, lived the perfect life.
And that's God's beauty, God's grace, God's love. And there's beauty in sharing that with others.
Beauty is the transformation that the Holy Spirit can make inside of you, so that on the outside, your face can shine, your words can soothe, and you can be the light for the person that's coming towards you.
If 20 years from now, people can remember us as compassionate and loving and giving, then that's beauty. Making a difference is beautiful.
Beauty to me is when somebody spends enough time with the Lord to know exactly the purpose and intention that He gave to them, and then they live it out.
Believing that God has made you the way you are for a reason.
You are valuable. You are beloved. You are lovely.
Anytime that Bethany is put aside and Christ is able to shine out of me, that's when I'm beautiful.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope it gave you a good taste of what's to come and that you'll join us for the rest of the season. We'd also love to connect with you on Instagram, Facebook, or on our website. There you'll find curriculum that's helpful to supplement these episodes if you want to show them in your youth group or girls ministry. If you have comments, questions, or feedback, we'd love to connect with you. Hope to see you soon.